Country gravy. Country gravy, every radio, every day long, every amazing. Nice. Doing great. I saw an interesting video. Thought I'd play. It's like a minute. I thought I'd play for you guys to get into. It's a spicy topic, but I love those.
That the Descent from Men movement is going to taper in the next couple of years. And I'm speaking as one of the people who was the first creators to talk about it, to discuss it, to put it out in what it is and how to do it. As someone who is a big proponent of it, I know that it's going to taper because we're under economic instability. And usually when we're under economic instability, women are the first group to be purged from organizations. And when they are purged, they go back to what they know. And that's attaching themselves to men so that they can have some financial and fiscal stability. And so I think in the next few years, we're going to see a lot of the conversation talk about love as a desire, love as a need, love as a human need. We're going to see a lot more trad wife content, which we're already seeing. But you're going to start seeing a new wave of talking points that push you away from having any type of autonomy. And it's going to be done under the guise of romance and romantic love.
Okay. I'll be quote what you're saying. If you didn't, I'll just summarize. She's basically saying because of all the economic instability, which is it's really global, there's trouble all over the place. You're going to see usually when there's a lot of economic instability, women are disproportionately affected. This is backed by statistics. It's usually women who get hit the hardest, and there's various reasons for that. She used the word purged as if it's done intentionally. There's various reasons for why that might be. Actually, hold on. Okay, I just spent some lengthy amount of time looking into this, but here's a brief rundown. So, women often bear the brunt of economic downturns due to a mix of structural and social factors that amplify their vulnerability. For starters, they're more likely to work in precarious, low-wage jobs, think retail, hospitality, or informal sectors, where layoffs hit first and hardest. These roles often lack benefits like paid leave or unemployment insurance, leaving little cushion when crisis strikes. Data backs this up. Globally, women are overrepresented in part-time or temporary work, which evaporates fast in a recession. Then there's the unpaid labor angle. Women disproportionately handle caregiving, so that's kids, elderly parents, sick relatives. And when budgets tighten, public services like childcare or healthcare often get slashed. That ramps up the responsibilities at home, forcing many to cut hours or quit jobs entirely. Studies show this pattern repeating across crises, from the 2008 financial crash to pandemic-era shutdowns. And then these wage gaps as well. So women already earn less on average, so they've got thinner savings to weather a storm. add in single-parent households, which are mostly headed by women, and the financial strain doubles. And domestic violence also tends to spike during economic stress, hitting women hardest and further destabilizing their lives. Okay, and then I went into depth with some of this stuff, so I actually got some bullet points here. So with regards to men's role in this, there is the whole thing of, because people will think this is done on purpose, so it's men doing this to women or whatnot. That's not the case. So like I talked about how that woman used the word purged. They're being purged from organizations and whatever employment structure they find themselves in when these economic downturns hit, but they're not being purged. It's just an unfortunate consequence of financial crises, but we often blame men for that. But I think historical norms have something to do with it. When for the longest time we've been used to the structure of men being the primary providers and all these sort of things, so the work culture still reflects that. And when you just consider so much of, because I know we don't like technology these days, but men and women are different. Women are very, very different from men. So in very competitive work environments where it's go, you know, if you're pregnant or whatever else you're going through as a woman, that will give you a disadvantage in a workplace that's like just super fast paced. Not to say there aren't women who can't thrive in those environments. There are women who thrive in those environments, who work very hard and can rise to the top. But more often than not, it's men who dominate those spaces. So, you know, you could make an argument that we should change that, but again, well, not again, but I think the issue with that is you do sacrifice a lot in order to accommodate that group. It ends up being a thing of what, so do we work less hours now? Are we less competitive? You know, because that means these industries will take a hit necessarily. So, I don't know. It's tough. Then there's biology's role as well. I talked about the competitive nature of men. And that's largely fueled by testosterone. We're testosterone machines. You just pump testosterone and it really makes us lean towards a more competitive, more stress-tolerant nature, especially stress in like acute circumstances. I think we've seen that women actually handle stress better over like long periods of time, apparently. But when it comes to like acute stress, because the stereotype about women is like if something crazy happens, they freak out. Ah! They always have these crazy freakouts, whereas men tend to be more measured. Generally, obviously, we know men that aren't like that, that do freak out and all this thing. But we're talking about generally. You have to look at things from a bird's eye view to get the full picture. And then we talked about women pregnancy and all that sort of stuff. So all of that also contributes to the disparities you'll see in workplaces. And also, biology also does inform the career paths women tend to take. Women have different interests than men because we're different. So sometimes the jobs they pick don't pay the best. And in economic crises, that'll be a problem. So you look at the degrees women are getting in university, for example. Whether it's in hospitality, in a lot of social work, education, so on and so forth. A lot of these industries where, you know, in economic crises, it can be hard if those sectors get hit. I want to read something here. The shift away from the traditional family where men were providers and women ran the home has shaken things up, no question. That model gave a clear division of labor. Men brought in the cash, women managed the domestic load. It wasn't perfect. Plenty of women felt trapped and men got crushed if they couldn't provide, but it offered a kind of stability, especially economically. Pushing young girls toward career-first mindsets has flipped that script and left some fallout. Single mother households are a big piece of this. When the norm was man as breadwinner, woman had a built-in safety net, assuming the guy stuck around. Now, with both sexes in the workforce and marriage rates dropping, that net has frayed. Women end up raising kids solo more often, and without a second income, they're stretched thin. Stats bear this out. Single-parent homes, mostly moms, have spiked since the 70s, and they're way more likely to be poor. The career push might empower some, but for others, it's a solo tightrope with no backup. Then there's just on single mother households, because the framing here can be that men are just abandoning their women and their children, but that's not the full picture. I personally know a guy who had to fight. He had to fight in court to get custody of his children. His wife wasn't able to take care of him. She wasn't earning enough, but she was keeping the kids from him. And he had it's been years, trying to get his kids to come live with him. And finally, after years of fighting, he's finally gotten his kids to come live with him. And a conversation has to be had about how single motherhood is actively encouraged. There are people who literally tell women, you don't need a man, you can raise a child by yourself, leave him, yada, yada, yada. A lot of girls are actually told that you can do it by yourself. You don't need this guy. And then they realize, single mother households tend, not always, but they tend to have the worst outcomes in society. Like, we talk about who's more likely to do drugs, drop out of school, engage in crime, have teenage pregnancy, all these sort of things. It's usually youths from single mother households. And that's not, for some reason I say this is just a fact, it's statistical, you can look it up. When I say this, people say I'm misogynistic or something. That's just a purely emotional and childish reaction. I'm relaying data to you. You can look it up to me and look it up yourself right now and tell me if I'm lying. It's just, we have to be honest, guys. And the truth is, someone telling the truth is not misogynistic or anything like that. It's just facts. So I think we can't just blame men for the rise of single mother household and all this sort of thing. Like, there are men who abandon the family. That is true. My father was not the best. He didn't do his job, and he left my mom to do things by herself, essentially. So I can definitely say for sure there are men and children not doing their job. But that's not the full story. There are lots of instances where women chose single motherhood by pushing the father out of the home. They poison the children's perception of the father by telling lies and saying, like venting. You know how women are. Like, if you have an issue with a guy, it's just like, F that guy, and you start talking badly about him towards your children, and your children start thinking this guy's such an asshole. Meanwhile, he's not nearly that bad, and he's actually trying to see his kids and all these sort of things. It's a problem, guys. So single motherhood is complicated. It's not entirely women's fault, but it's not entirely men's fault as well. I think there's a big part of society that encourages this sort of stuff. How many times have we heard, we don't need no man, men are trash, and then you wonder why there's a rise in single mother households. Like, come on. Okay. So it says there's the career-focused women who skipped marriage altogether. So these are the girls that just don't get married at all. If the message is you need to succeed on your own, tying yourself to a partner can feel optional or even risky. Some thrive that way, sure, but others hit their 40s or 50s with no family cushion, carrying the full financial load alone. That's tougher in a downturn, no doubt. And it's a life that doesn't lean on the old corporative model of splitting burdens. Girls grow up hearing you can be anything, which is great, but the subtext often skips the trade-offs. Not every woman wants to stay at home, and not every man can or should be the sole earner anymore. Wages haven't kept up with that ideal since the 50s, but hammering career as the only path, that's left a vacuum where shared roles used to be, and a scramble on how we handle family and money. The old structure had flaws, but it had clarity. And now we're figuring out what can replace that old structure, if we should replace that old structure. There are many circumstances where I've had this conversation with some friends, actually. I remember having a conversation with some dudes, and they were both like, I was asking them, like, would you want your wife to stay at home? Because I've been vocal about it. I tell everyone, whether it's here on the internet or in my personal life, I'd love a girl who's willing to stay at home, and I can just be the primary provider. Primary, she might have some things that she does, but so long as the home comes first, the children come first, I come first, whatever she does beyond that, that's great too. But I personally want a girl who's her main thing, the thing that gives her joy, the thing that she wants to do more than anything else is be a wife and be a mother. And that's what fills her with excitement. That's what she lives for. Anything else she does outside of that, that's cool too, so long as she keeps that first. And I'll be very open about that. I wouldn't like spring that on like surprise. I'll tell her before we even become an official couple. I'd let her know. I let every girl know this, by the way. I'm not someone who just keeps things to myself. I'll let you know. Probably on the first date. There's ways to say these things without it being overwhelming. But I just want any girl I'm with to understand me, so there's no confusion. Because that, if I keep it to myself, that'll affect me down the line. Because there'll be fighting and all sorts of issues. I'm not into that. I was having a conversation with friends about, do y'all want girls who work or girls who stay at home? And they're like, we want girls who work because it's tough out here economically. And I get it. I get why men would say that. And because of economic constraints, you're going to see people getting creative with how they pay their goods. And shout out to y'all. I do think the best structure, the best family structure is one where the man is the provider and the wife stays at home and takes care of the home. I believe that's the best for society. It's best for children. It's just the best. It yields the best results possible. I think a world where most people subscribe to that structure would be a great world. But we don't deal in ideas, we deal in reality. So in situations where the economy is just very unromantic, you have to do what you have to do to survive. I get it. I understand. I just think we're not fair when we're discussing the old structure. Now, going back to what that woman was saying about how there's going to be a shift. A lot of girls are going to start being like, hey, I want to be a trad wife now, yada, yada, yada. She says something at the end where it's like it's going to be done under the guise of romance. Like a lot of girls are acting like they've been this way the whole time. That they're actually traditional. Meanwhile, they still have a lot of their feminist tendencies, and they aren't going to be truly submissive and all these sort of things. Me, what I want, like I said, I will not mince my words about it. I'll be honest. The traditional structure where man is head of household, woman is submissive, and And that word submissive is the one that, it's like a bad word. It's like a swear word. All that means, guys, is that you're submitting to the structure. You understand that there's a hierarchy. There's your husband has authority over you. All these sort of things. That doesn't imply abuse. It doesn't imply manipulation or anything like that. For example, you practice submission all the time in your work structures. If you're part of some organization, you submit to authority, yes or no? It doesn't mean that your boss is necessarily an asshole. Are there people that abuse power? Yes, there's always people that abuse power. But that'll always be a thing. That doesn't mean that we get rid of structures entirely and that no one should ever be a leader or anything like that, because sometimes leaders abuse their positions. Like, that's silly. So when I'm talking about I want a woman who's submissive, all I'm saying is she respects. She understands that in family, man, head of household, and then wife takes care of the children. The children are at the bottom of that structure. Then the wife, and then the husband. That's all I'm saying. And not everyone would want to subscribe to a structure like that. Fair enough. I do think it's the best one. It yields the best results when done properly. Again, there are men who abuse that position. Just like in any organization, in any structure, there'll be people that abuse their power. But if you look at the alternatives, they're not great either. They're not, I just don't think they compare. So for me, this is the path I'm taking. So I have to be prudent and mindful of the fact that in the times we're in, where the economy is just dookie, there are going to be people, women in particular, who want to take advantage of men and kind of charade or masquerade as submissive, as traditional, when in reality they're just trying to secure economic stability. But when it comes down to it, they'll still have the I don't need to listen to you, I don't need no man attitude, all that sort of stuff, which just doesn't work. You're depending on your man for your livelihood. And some women might see that as, you see, like, this is why we don't want to do it, because then we're just under your mercy and you're going to take advantage of us. And so it's such an ugly characterization of a lot of men who genuinely love their wives. So, for example, I would genuinely love the woman I'm with, or never want to hurt her, or never want to take advantage of her, or never want to make her feel anything other than happy to be with me. That is a big priority of mine. I've always talked about how more than being successful at any aspect of career, the thing when all is said and done that I'm going to be most proud of is the fact that I got married, I had children, and I did a great job at both of those things. And my sincere hope is that at the end of my life, I can look at my life and ask her, did I do a great job? And she can say, you did an amazing job. You treated me as best as you could, and that was amazing. And my children will say the same thing. You're a great father. That is a genuine goal of mine. I pray for that every morning without fail, because I'm serious about achieving it. So when I'm saying that I want a woman who's within that structure and I'm the head of that structure, it's not because I want to manipulate and take advantage and just have my way with it. It's because, number one, that's what's natural to me as a man. Men want to do it, and also it's the best structure. It's just the best because there is something appealing about this idea that she can, like, she's working just as hard as you are. Both have these big careers, and you don't have to worry about income as much because you've got this supplementary income coming from your wife. I think a lot of men these days subscribe to that structure because there's less risk because you're sharing the burden with your wife. But there's so many trade-offs to that because since she's so busy, It means less time for the children. Now you have to push the children into the public school system because I want to homeschool my babies. I want to homeschool them. I don't want them out in public school or private school, whatever. I'd love to have them with me, and my wife is homeschooling them, and we just get to grow up with our kids get to grow up with us, and we get to see them most of the time. But that's not possible when you're both busy as hell. You have to send them to public school. And now you're spending most of your life for the next however many years, almost 2 decades, in someone else's care. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's crazy. So I grew up in that system, and I honestly think I would have been better off homeschool. So I just don't want that for my children. So hear me. A lot of accusations about misogyny and you hate women and all this sort of stuff. Allow it. Leave me alone. That's not what I'm saying. That's not how I am. And I think it's just very childish and unintelligent because you're not listening. You're not engaging with the argument. So please, really please, don't accuse me of some nonsense. Because I'm being sincere when I say that I think this is what is best, and I genuinely do care for women, and I genuinely do love women, so much so that I would want to marry them and dedicate my life to her and her happiness. So give me a break, man. I wish we could discuss these things without people being so reactive and emotional. I wish we could just actually break it down and have intellectual debates about what's best and what isn't without accusations flying around. But it tends, when you say these things, that's where things tend to go, is accusations and ad hominem attacks. So we'll see if this video is any different. I'm not holding my breath for that. But yeah, these things need to be said. So yeah, man, like that girl said, we're entering a strange time where we're going to see a lot of girls wanting to return to that traditional structure. But it has to be genuine, guys. I think a lot of men will be able, I think a lot of men will get tricked, for sure. But I think guys like me, I'll be able to suss out if a girl's being for real or not, if she actually wants to be a traditional wife, a submissive wife, or if she just is out here trying to brave the economic storm and she's using me as a cover and nothing more than that. Time will tell. I will tell. So yeah, I want someone who's genuine. She genuinely loves the idea of being a wife, a mother, and taking care of the home. And that's something she aspires to do. That's what I want. If you want something else, that's cool too. I ain't not for that. One of the men I respect most, he's a great guy, great father, great husband. His wife works, she's a teacher, and she goes to work every day. And they make it work. He doesn't have the traditional family life. He's divorced. His kids spend time in his home, and then they go to his ex's home. And his structure is not the structure I'd want for myself, but I respect him so much because he is married. He is faithful to his wife. He's a great father. He is the head of his household. Undeniably, unequivocally, that man runs his house, and he's so kind to his wife. He's a great husband. He's a great father. Even though his structure isn't the most traditional, he was living with his now wife before they got married. He was sleeping with his now wife before they got married. All these things that I speak against on this channel, he did them. But he acknowledges that he probably shouldn't have done things that way, and he made rights on those things, and things are going well for him. He's genuinely trying, and I respect him so much. So while I don't agree with some of the things, it's like, people, listen, man, y'all do you. I'm just, on this channel, all I do is just share my opinion. It's just my opinion. What I believe to be the best way forward, and the idea is that we can discuss things intellectually, not emotionally. That's the idea, right? right? Anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. You know, I like to pray at the end of this, so dear Father God, I thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thanks for making them whole and unique and guiding them with one towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with wonderful people in the life who love them, take care of them, live the absolute best life, and anything from the can, the ones that are there to do the same thing. Thank you for blessing this person with love and marriage and sustaining that love and marriage and making you very, very happy. Thank you for blessing this person with a spirit of gratitude so they can give thanks for all the wonderful things in their life. And by giving thanks, they can find peace, contentment, and joy. Thank you for blessings before this person's life. So know that your God, that you will, that you love them, and that you'll be there for them. Good health, long life, and happiness with this person. They really care about you. In my name, I pray in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Amen.